All rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to the July 6th meeting of the City of Summit Zoning Board of Adjustment. My name is Joe Steiner. I'm Vice Chairman of the Summit Zoning Board. In accordance with New Jersey Statute 10:4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the newspaper of record and has been posted here in City Hall. This meeting is a judicial proceeding, and any questions or comments must be limited to the issues that are relevant to that the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. For the benefit of the interested public, this meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube page and also broadcast on Summit's governmental channel, that's Comcast Channel 34 and Verizon Channel 30. A transcript of this meeting is also being taken using the video and audio, so we must ask all speakers to come forward and utilize one of the microphones up front. Please note that the fire exits are to my right, your left, and at the back of the room where you entered. The city has an assisted listening system. If anyone needs it, please come to the dais and obtain it from Mr. Nicola and then return it here thereafter. Andy Ball, sitting to my right, is the zoning board's attorney. He will advise the board members on matters of law, and he is the key interface with the applicant's attorney. Mr. Ball will not be voting on the applications. Chris Nicola, next to him, is a city employee and is the zoning board secretary. Mr. Nicola works with applicants on preparing their applications, planning our agendas, and keeping our meeting minutes. Mr. Nicola also does not vote on the applications. Also present is Chris Dower, our board engineer, who is seated at the table to our right, the audience's left. Mr. Dower provides input to the board and also does not vote on the applications. Our board consists of 7 regular members and up to 4 alternates. All members can participate in the hearings, but a maximum of 7 can vote. Most applications require a simple majority to be approved. Some applications require 5 affirmative votes to be approved. You'll be told which you need before we begin our deliberations. Mr. Nicola, would you please call the roll of the members?
Sure. Chairman Spur is excused. Vice Chairman Steiner?
Here.
Mr. Yuko?
Here.
Ms. Newell is excused. Mr. Mullen?
Here.
Mr. Millay?
Here.
Mr. Loikitz?
Here.
Ms. Toth?
Here.
Ms. Sager is not here. Dr. Levine?
Here.
And Mr. Gonzalez.
Here.
All right, you have a quorum. You can proceed.
Thank you. We generally hear the cases in the order that they are listed on the agenda. We try to have each hearing last no more than 30 minutes, but we do understand that some cases are too complex to be heard within that time. Each hearing begins with the applicant or their attorney giving an overview of the application and the variances that are required. We then hear from any expert witnesses that the applicant may have to help explain the application and why the variances are needed. The board members may ask questions of the applicant, their attorney, or the expert witnesses. Once the board members and the board professionals have completed their questioning, the public gets an opportunity to ask questions. That's not the time to tell us what you think of the application. That opportunity comes at the end of the hearing. Before you ask questions, please again clearly state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address. Again, it's important that our court reporter be able to keep a clear and accurate public record, and that, as I said, is being done over the sound system and the video system. After all the witnesses have been heard, members of the audience have their second opportunity to speak, and that's the time when you may express your opinion, positive or negative, about the application. At that time, you will be sworn in by our attorney. Then the public hearing is closed, and we enter into executive session where the board members discuss the case and vote. You'll be able to listen to our executive session, but you normally will not be able to participate in that discussion. Most applications are heard and decided in the same evening. If a case requires additional information or testimony that cannot be heard tonight, we will carry your case to another date, and it will not be decided during this meeting. Krista Anderson, the city zoning officer, has asked that we remind all applicants that they must read carefully the resolution that documents the zoning board's decision and pay particular attention to any conditions that are contained in that resolution. For example, if a landscaping plan is required, you must obtain one, submit it to John Linson, the city's forester. If a grading plan is required, you must have one prepared by a civil engineer. Submit 3 copies along with an application fee to the city's engineering division. Failure to satisfy all of the conditions in a resolution will result in a delay in approving your application, as it will cause extra work for city zoning staff. The resolutions documenting the board's decision are normally available 1 month after we decide the case. We're now going to go over the agenda, and I would ask a representative of each case to come forward and let us know whether or not, how many witnesses you have and whether or not you think you can get your case presented in 30 minutes or less. First case is 79 Tulip Street, Brian and Andrea Mullen.
Yes, good evening, Michael Perry for the applicant. I have the applicant, Mr. Brian Mullen, and I have a professional engineer. Those are our 2 witnesses. We should be able to get done well in advance of the 30 minutes.
Okay, thank you. We'll take you first. 296 Summit Avenue has been pulled off the agenda, correct?
Yeah, there was some confusion with the notice, so we'll put them on, I believe we're going to put them on 8/1, but they'll renotice for that date.
And that will be renoticed to the public. So
Correct.
if anyone's here for 296, it will, for 296 Summit Avenue, and you received an initial notice, there will be another notice provided. 70 Hillcrest Avenue, the Reddy Family Trust.
Yes, Anthony.
You have to come forward.
Anthony D'Alessandro, on behalf of the applicant, I have 4 expert witnesses, although I only intend to call 2 unless the board has some questions for the other 2, but definitely.
Okay, you'll be second up. And number, well, what was number 4 is now number 3, Jason Pucci, 9 Nassau Drive.
Good evening. I'm the homeowner. I have 1 witness, Kathy Muller, engineer behind me. I think we'll be done well before 30 minutes.
Okay,
Thanks.
great. So we will begin with 79 Tulip Street, Brian and Andrea Mullen.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I need to recuse.
Okay.
Michael, can you just hit the switch on the side of the mic? I don't think it's on. It's, yeah, back there. There you go.
Ah, there it is. That wonderful little switch.
Got me that one time.
Yeah.
Chair, is this the best place or what is the board?
It's usually about where it is. The other, you may have to move it back and forth for the other side if it's critical.
Thank you, and good evening again. My name is Michael LaParry. I'm an attorney with the law firm Mandelbaum Barrett, and I'm counsel to the applicants Brian and Andrea Mullen. We're before you this evening seeking 2 minor bulk variances in order to permit the applicants to reconstruct their existing garage that's fallen into disrepair and has, I think, we believe it was probably built around 1929, so it's about time for a bit of an upgrade, and as a result of keeping it in pretty much the exact same location and the location that is the only real place that it can fit on the property, it triggers 2 bulk variances for having an accessory structure in the side and in the rear yard. In order to be brief, I'm going to just start calling my witnesses. I'm going to start with Mr. Brian Mullen, who is the owner and applicant and sitting here to my right.
Any questions for the attorney? None? Okay, go ahead.
All right, if you could raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
Brian Mullen, M-U-L-L-A-N.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mullen, if you could just briefly tell the board, who you are, maybe a little bit about yourself, how long you've lived there, what you're trying to do with the application.
Sure. Brian Mullen. I've been a Summit resident for about 7 years in this house. We are looking to, as we stated, just reconstruct the garage where it is. It's a single-car driveway. There's kind of one natural place to put the garage, I think, and we're just trying to improve the property. About myself, 2 kids, a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old. As you can tell, I coached the 9U baseball team in town. I came from there. That's why I'm wearing this, and that's me.
Okay. And you're not looking to really make an expansion, it's just basically reconstructing what's falling down in the same spot?
Yeah, essentially put it where it lie. Looked at repairing it and not having to rebuild the entire structure. It would be easier for a variety of reasons, but it's in pretty bad disrepair, and been advised by a number of people that it needs to be reconstructed. So here I am.
Thank you. That's pretty straightforward. If the board or any professionals have any questions for Mr. Mullen.
Questions
Otherwise,
from the board? Okay.
thank you. My next.
Anybody from the public
sorry.
have a question for, yes, sir, please come forward.
My name is Stephen Sipe with a PH, and I live at 77 Tulip Street in Summit, New Jersey. I'm a next-door neighbor.
Question, right.
The question I have is the setback that the variance is going to have. I've talked to, my neighbor about extending my fence around my garden all the way to the back end of my property line. I stopped, even though I had approval to do that, I stopped doing that in order for not to interfere with anything he's doing with his construction. And I just want to make sure that whatever variance you give is not going to stop me from putting the fence, or force me to put the fence deeper into my own property.
Any variance that the board would grant tonight for the construction of a shed on the neighboring property wouldn't affect your ability to build on your own property.
Okay, so the distance between where
It's
the
not measured
garage
based-
is and that, if it's, if you're giving a variance for, I think it's 1 foot 7 inches, 19 inches, that is not going to stop me from having the fence?
Right. The location of your fence is measured based on your property boundaries. It doesn't depend on adjacent buildings or anything on adjacent properties.
That's fine with me then.
And if I can just maybe piggyback a little, because I didn't want to ask the applicant this, but I was waiting for the next witness is an engineer.
Yes.
Yeah, why, if we're rebuilding the garage, why it can't be put in a conforming location? I think that would address some of the
We
neighbors'
will
concerns.
absolutely
Okay.
address that, and just so everyone is clear, we did go back and make sure, we read through the ordinances, both myself and our engineer, to make sure that there wasn't anything quirky about the DRO, about having a fence in any distance away from, any kind of structure, and there was nothing in there like we assumed, but we went and double-checked just to make sure. So thank you, sir, for your comments and your question. My next witness.
Any other members of the public have? No, okay.
My next witness that I'd like to call is Mr. Thomas Graham. He's a professional engineer with Dykstra Walker Design Group. Mr. Walker.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
Thomas Graham, Graham. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. I'm a partner in the firm Dykstra Walker Design Group. I have testified in front of many zoning and planning boards through all the counties north of Route 78. Hundreds of times have been qualified as a professional engineer on every occasion.
Does the board have any questions, or would you like to accept this
Any
credential?
questions? Okay, I guess we will accept your credentials. Please go ahead.
Thank you. We're here today for Block 3208, Lot 4, more commonly known as 79 Tulip Street. I have with me a copy of the grading plan for that is dated 5/24/21, last revised 11/02/21. I did modify it slightly just to show the outline in red of the location of the existing
So
garage.
this is different than what
It's
we
different
have.
Because of the.
So then we
location
should
of the
mark
garage
that
is
as
from-
A1. Okay.
And today is July 6th.
Yes.
Thank
Again, now we're here for 79 Tulip Street. The lot is rectangularly shaped parcel located within the R6 Single-Family Residence Zone District. It's 100 feet deep by 75 feet wide, 7,500 square feet in area. It's located in the northwesterly quadrant of the Ashland Tulip Road intersection. It's bordered by the Salt Brook to the west and residential properties to the north. And it's across the street from one of your local schools. I forget the name, I think it started with a B.
Great.
The site currently supports an existing single-family dwelling, paved driveway from Tulip Street to the existing garage. The property is, the dwelling is undergoing renovation along with the construction of a patio in the rear, which was approved by the zoning department under a grading permit. We're here today for the existing garage. As you can see, the garage is skewed to the driveway. And so since we're going to have the opportunity to reconstruct the building, we tried to square it up with the driveway, and that's why it's pulled closer to the property line to the north, but we're pulling it a little bit further away from the property line to the south. So the overall changes to the garage are the existing garage footprint is 203 square feet. The new one will be 221 square feet. The area in the back of the garage, there was a little addition put on the back, more like a tool shed kind of thing, but we included that in the footprint. The existing side yard setback to the property to the north is 3.1 feet. When we're done, it will be 1.2 feet, and we're going to make it parallel with the line, so it'll be 1.2 feet on either front and back along the property line. And then the rear yard setback today is 1.7 feet, and when we're done, it's going to be 3.2 feet. 4 feet is required by your ordinance. So to push the direct garage southerly away from the property line 4 feet, again, doesn't line it up with the garage, and it actually starts putting it in back of the house, and there would be conflicts with the house movement. We didn't push it forward the 4 feet because of the existing concrete stairs and stoop that's part of the existing house. Pushing it forward that extra 10 inches creates more of a pinch point. So we're trying to balance the location of the garage as far away from the rear property line and the salt brook as we can get, but also clear of the steps so that it's an easy passageway. Anybody that parks in the driveway or uses the driveway, that's the only way into the back of the yard. So the 10-inch variance, while it doesn't sound like a lot, if we push it forward, it makes a pretty big difference in the back. Just getting equipment back there to maintain the yard and just to have passage back and forth to the driveway. So that's the reason for the variance. The location of the existing driveway is right up against the property line. It's only 11.6 feet from the property line to the house, so the driveway is a little bit narrower than 11 feet. Our proposed garage is going to be 10 feet wide on the inside, and we're just trying to make this situation a little more regular and conforming with the existing driveway. The property, due to proximity to the Salt Brook, is under the jurisdiction of the DEP. Application was made to the DEP, and they issued a permit about a year ago for the improvements that you see in front of you today. Aside from the variances noted for the garage structure, the property meets all of your other zoning bulk requirements. Lot area, front yard setback, rear yard setback to the principal dwelling, impervious coverage. The garage is to have electrical service, but no water or sewer, and it is absolutely not going to be a habitable building. And in the permit that the DEP issued, if it is converted to a habitable building, that's a tough one for me. There is the potential that the DEP will find it, never mind the town. So it's only going to be used for the storage of vehicles or tools or other things that would be stored in a typical garage. We did talk to the neighbor, the applicant talked to the neighbor. We did check your ordinance and can we agree with what your attorney said. The location of this garage structure will have no impact on his ability to construct a fence along the property. We did receive a number of reports, staff reports. We took no exception with some of the comments that were issued. A lot of them were just statements of fact. But there were a couple of items that were open that I think I'd like to go through now. In the zoning officer's report, they talked about
the proposed setback that we have, and I think I've talked about why we have it, where we have it, and we believe that it's appropriate and will not really impact your zone plan or the neighbor's property or any of the surrounding properties. They wanted us to confirm that the garage was going to be 10 feet wide on the interior. We have spoken with the architect, and he has confirmed that. The engineer made a comment suggesting that the roof leaders for the garage be connected to the dry well, and we're going to make that change. The dry well was sized for the proposed increase in impervious coverage for the entire project, the house, the patio, and the slight increase in the garage. So we're going to tie that in and do as the engineer had suggested. Because of the location of the garage so close to the property line, and even if you met your setback, 4-foot setback, if there's a fire code issue that wall has to be fire rated, and the architect has confirmed that his design will make that a fire rated wall.
And that was in response to the construction official's comments, correct?
Yes, the construction official, sorry. If I said zoning official, I apologize.
That's okay.
The town forester made a comment with the hedgerow along Ashland Avenue. A portion of that was removed to facilitate some of the construction activities. That will be repaired, and it is certainly their intent to create a privacy hedge again for their backyard. The historical commission suggested that the siding of the garage, the smooth clapboard siding, the proposed garage color and siding is going to be the same as the house to make it look the same and be part of the property. And then your environmental commission suggested that solar panels or permeable pavers be installed. Well, that's not part of our project at this time. The clients will consider it for the future, but the current project is to construct things as you see it here today. The increase in impervious coverage associated with the building addition and the pavers were offset by the construction of the dry well, which was properly sized and approved by your engineering department. Those are all of the comments that we've received. I think I've touched on everything. That's the end of my testimony. If I've missed anything or if the board has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Anything else?
No, I just want to clarify, again, we're asking for a couple inches on the one side and about a foot on the other side. So we're not asking for significant variance. This is basically as a result of the existing driveway and house location.
So highlighted in red is the existing garage. We're really just kind of twisting it to line it up with the driveway.
Right, and it's your opinion too that will not create any sort of hardship or difficulty for the,
If somebody drove by in 6 months, they wouldn't notice the difference.
except for it's probably a nicer structure and a more safe
Well,
structure.
It'll look prettier, yeah.
It'll look a lot better and it'll be a little safer?
Yes.
Okay.
And there might be a car in it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Don't be afraid to put your car in it. I don't have any further questions for Mr. Graham if
Mr. Dower?
Just two questions. One, if we could get a copy of that DEP permit that you
Absolutely.
referenced? I don't think the board has received that. The second thing is there was no dimension provided or distance provided at the rear wall of the garage. It shows a setback to the Salt Brook. You mentioned 3.2 feet, is that correct?
On the plan that I'm looking at, and I believe it's the plan that was submitted to the board, in the upper right left-hand corner of the garage, you can see the 3.2 foot dimension. The 8.5 foot dimension is from the back of the property line to the wall that defines the Salt Brook. And that was placed there, I believe at the request of the DEP, just for was one of their concerns. The 8.5 feet has nothing to do with the garage today. It's 3.2 feet off the property line, and that's shown on the plan, and that's consistent with the note in the zoning table.
It is on the plan. So that was the only question I had.
Okay, questions from the board?
Yes. The question here, do you have any problems getting in and out from the existing garage?
When you say in and out, do you mean out of the structure or into my house?
Yeah, I mean the garage that existed, or it's now in very bad shape, you need to replace it. What are the chances of replacing it in place, in kind?
So I think that might be a better question for.
The question is for the engineer.
Yeah, oh, okay.
So the driveway is 1 car wide, and the existing structure
skewed to the driveway. So there is a bit of a turning movement that has to occur. Maybe we can bring the.
No, I have it here, don't worry, I can
This
see.
exhibit shows the difference of the overlay. I don't know if it'll be helpful. What we're doing is squaring the building up to the driveway, at the same time parallel to the property line. So the drive pulling into and then backing straight out would be a much easier movement. than
Much
it is today.
easier, but it's not
Absolutely.
impossible to keep the same conditions. The conditions, existing conditions are not in compliance, but they are pre-existing, we can live with those. But saying that we go to a 1 foot, 0.2, it's a stretch. I find it as a stretch. Within the 1 foot, within the 1 foot, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, in order.
But within,
Okay, one at a time.
Yes,
please.
let me complete my sentence. Within 1.2 foot, I can hardly maintain the wall. I can hardly stand up and paint it. And this should be a fire-rated wall. Why don't we find another solution, keeping the existing conditions? This is the way where I'm going to.
The existing driveway is too narrow per your existing code, so in order to reconstruct it, we would have to make it 10 feet wide or ask for another variance. It is really too small for today's vehicles. And when we make it, if we kept the northerly face and the easterly face, and then put the new garage shape size on there, we actually move the garage to a point that's behind the stairs, making any access to that garage that much more difficult, or getting out that much more difficult, because now we have to maneuver around the stairs. By swinging the garage up parallel to the driveway, perpendicular to the access of the existing driveway, that is a much better, safer condition for pulling cars in and out. And the very minor setback variance, I think is warranted. The structure is tall enough so that you can stand below the EP to stand there and paint it. Granted, 1.2 feet, I might have a little bit of trouble squeezing in there, but it can be done.
How about the 1 foot?
And the siding is a product that's not going to require that it be painted on a regular basis.
But still, somebody has to go in there and do some work. At 1 foot, 0.2 is very little. And there, we should have looked at that, first of all, and avoided such an inconvenience for the owner and the future owners and for the neighbor.
We did look at it, and we believe that the orientation as we proposed it is a safer, better solution than leaving it cockeyed and creating more of a maneuvering or hazard issue with the existing stairs. And the existing garage is only 3.1 feet off, and we're reducing that to 1.2 feet. Again, where 4 feet is required. So again, I believe that the proposed orientation and location is the better solution. I'm sorry for blocking your view.
Any other questions for the?
Yeah, I have a couple, might be related to possible conditions. The construction officials' comment about fire rating and such, is that something, even if we didn't make a condition about that, they would address that in the permitting process, I
They
assume?
have to comply with the construction
Yes,
codes,
So-
yes.
When the garage plans were approved by your building department, that would absolutely come.
Yeah, so there's no reason we should make a condition? Okay.
Nope.
And then the
We
forester's
stipulated
comment,
it anyway.
excuse me?
We stipulate anyway that we'll comply, so.
I'm sure they'll make you comply even if you hadn't.
Right, exactly.
The other thing about the forester, though, should we make something specific about the comment about the forester? I heard the applicant say they were going to address screening, you know.
So there is an existing hedgerow along National Avenue. 2 or 3 plants were removed, so now there's a gap in the hedge to facilitate some of the construction of the driveway in the yard. Those are going to be replaced so that the hedgerow is consistent.
So should we maybe just add a little condition about that so the forester reviews?
Yeah, usually what we'll do is incorporate that as a condition of the approval. Are you okay with accepting that as a condition of this application?
Yes, I intend to, as soon as possible, put the trees back where they were.
Just a quick note, I know I run into this on compliance issues all the time, so I'll raise it. There's certain planting seasons, and they might not actually coincide with building the garage and getting the construction started. So sometimes if it's going to hold up construction, we might have to wait till next September or a certain time where it's a better timing for planting so that the trees don't get planted and die. And I know we always run into that when they're saying, okay, we have to put this as a condition where we plant in order for you to get your building permit. And then it's like, okay, well, now we have to wait 8 months for the proper planting season. So I don't know the best way to address that, but I would hate to hold up his construction just as a result of he plants trees that could potentially die trying to rush to comply.
So what sort of time frame would you be asking for on that?
I mean, look, at the end of the day, you'll issue notice of the violation. I don't know the exact planting seasons, but
Might I suggest that the plan that we give to your forester will have the species and number of plants, as well as planting details and instructions, and in there typically there is a time of year when it is proper to plant them, or they might have to post a bond to the 3 or 4 trees until we get back to a time that it's eligible to plant them. So I think the plan that gets approved by your forester will have these timelines on it, and if he agrees to it, then I think that should be acceptable.
That sounds fair to me.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just had a question. Can you please restate the rear yard setbacks? It looks like there's, 2 because it's on a skew. Can you just state what each corner is in the rear, please, again? Or roughly what the average setback is there?
The existing rear yard setback, the corner
Closest to the
closest
property
to
line?
The rear property line is 1.7 feet.
Uh-huh.
That's here.
Yep.
And then we're going to be 3.2 feet consistent across the back after we move it.
Yep.
On the northerly side, today, the closest point is 3.1 feet, and we're going to be 1.2 feet
Yeah,
consistent.
got it. Okay. Thank you.
That little shed at the back of the garage, is that actually space inside the garage, or is it got an outdoor
The
door?
roof is much lower.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Can I-
Yeah, fine.
It looks like it's a part of the garage, it is a part of the garage. The best way you're gonna laugh, but it looks like someone at some point wanted to put a Cadillac in.
Yeah, exactly my thought. Did they,
So it's
were they
the
trying to get a
wall-
hood in there?
The wall goes like this, and then it goes out, and then down, and the only thing I can think is someone wanted a Cadillac. So it's a part of the structure that stands right now.
Okay, and now that's going to go away, and it's going to be one straight line in the back.
Yes.
Other questions?
I have one. I think you addressed it, but I just may have missed it in my notes here. One of the comments was ensuring that the dimensions are 10 feet wide by 20 feet deep. Is that going to be the intention?
That is absolutely what the architect has told
Okay.
me the dimensions will be, that any plan that gets submitted to the town will be that. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Are there any, in your opinion, are there any negatives to this, to the neighborhood or to the zone plan?
Absolutely not. This structure, when we're done, will not be nothing but a positive or improvement to the existing housing stock. It'll bring it in conformance with your current codes. The aesthetics will be much better, and it will match the new house. There are no negative impacts associated with this.
Any other questions? Do you have any other witnesses?
I do not.
Did we open the engineer to questions from the
I'm
public?
sorry, are there any questions for the engineer from the public? Seeing none, do you have anything else to present?
No. I think it's very succinct. I don't need to
Okay,
provide
then,
any additional.
With this point, we'll give the public a chance to give their opinion. If you have an opinion and you'd like to comment on this application, this is the time. Seeing none, are you turning it over to us for executive session?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Conditions.
Yes, so first is our usual, compliance with those conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum. And the second, as we discussed, is that replacement screening will be installed in accordance with a plan to be submitted to the city forester for review and approval.
Okay, we are ready for executive session. Who would like to open?
I can. I am not happy with the 1.2 foot distance from the neighbor, and I do think that it is unfair to the neighbor who, unless he accepts that, and it will be a condition of the approval, otherwise I decline, I am against it. I oppose this application.
I appreciate those
Anyone
points.
else?
I would just, note that the neighbor is here and hasn't expressed a similar opinion. So in deference to that, I look at the overall application. It's taking a dilapidated garage and improving it to modern standards or replacing it with a modern structure. I actually, the comment about the turning angle resonated with me. I think about my kids approaching driving age at some point in the next few years. And I'm sure the neighbor with the new fence that's going up also wants it to remain intact. So I think that definitely renders a safety benefit here. And, these lots over there by Brayton, you don't have a lot of choices when it comes to structures on these lots. They're small to begin with, and the garage is kind of going where it's going. So with that in mind, I'm in favor of the application.
Yeah, I came in with some of the same concerns raised by Mr. Molly, and I raised it earlier in my question. If you're going to rebuild the garage, redo the foundation, why not put it in a conforming location? And I'm, I guess I'm convinced to approve this one partially because, the backyard, obviously there's no issues. You've got the salt brick back there. The side yard, the neighbor doesn't seem too concerned once we addressed his fence issue. So although this is not the kind of thing I like to say yes to, I can vote in favor of it.
I appreciate Mr. Mully's point, but I agree with my colleagues closer on my right. Without repeating what they've said, what I have to add is that it's already an existing non-conforming structure, and the most encroaching setback is 1.7 feet currently as it is. So now we're moving to 1.2, and I see that it's a much more elongated, sustained area of a setback encroachment. But I still view this as an issue of safety first and foremost, and it needs to be done. And then when you're looking from the street and you see the driveway that's askew, structures don't look right like that. And this is going to be so much cleaner and so much nicer, and I think do a service to the neighborhood and the street. So for those reasons, I'm also in favor.
Anyone else want to opine or discuss it? I think that it's something that needs to be done to make this property work, and I think it's a minor situation here that we can make happen for the family and make it possible for people to do it. And it does not seem to have any negative impact to either the neighbor who's is totally understanding of what's going on and seems to be happy with the resolution relative to his fence and his property. So for those reasons, I can support that. And at this point, we would look for a motion to approve this application.
I'll move to approve with the conditions we previously mentioned.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Nicola?
Sure. Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Mr. Mullen?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
No.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
Dr. Levine?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
And Vice Chairman Stein?
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
Okay. Congratulations. Good luck with
Thank
your
you,
project.
thank you.
We move to 70 Hillcrest.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen, appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
give everybody a chance to set up. And we'll wait. Chris, can you recognize Walter and the people came in late?
They made it before roll call.
I know you did, but we do it on the record.
If you want,
I don't know, I didn't know if you did or didn't.
He got in time for the actual hearing.
Yes, I know he did. Both of them did. Okay.
if you want, I can mark it as 7:34.
I just want to make sure that they were,
You want it in the minutes.
I mean, when we get Walter voting,
Yeah, that's fair. Good point.
that's your first vote, right?
Mostly marked first.
That was his first vote.
That was a second.
No, he's saying first.
Second?
My first tardy.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, tardies don't.
On the record.
Okay, we're back on the record. I'm sorry. What? Oh, yes, that's all right. Welcome back, Scott. Thank you. Please.
All right, good evening. My name is Anthony D'Alessandro. I'm an attorney from Avellino Law in Summit, New Jersey, on behalf of the property owner of 70 Hillcrest Avenue, Rasika Reddy, as the trustee of the Reddy Qualified Personal Residence Trust. The homeowner seeks to make improvements to the backyard of the home by installing a pool, a spa, and an on-grade patio. She would like to create an outdoor living space that is more conducive to her client's current lifestyle while keeping with the charm and style of the home. We are seeking a C variance, a front yard setback, to construct the pool. I'd like to note that we would not need a variance but for the irregular shape of the property. There's unnecessary hardship created by the 3 front yards and 1 side yard. There's no rear yard to this property. But the addition is within the impervious coverage and building coverage permitted. The pool and patio are designed to blend with the home. They're architecturally appropriate. The setback is appropriate from the street. There's no stormwater issues, no detriment to any other properties, and there will be proper screening and vegetation. To touch on the board comments, Christina Anderson, the zoning officer, she verified that the proposed lot coverage will be conforming. She wants us to confirm that the additional screening will not restrict visibility at the intersection, which it will not, and we have an expert to testify upon that as well. Christopher Dower, the engineer, notes that the application and the plans satisfy the engineering requirements. And John Linson, the city forester, said that the improvement is well screened and he has no objection. To briefly discuss the criteria, positive criteria, the changes are promoting a desirable visual environment, preserving the character of the original home. The proposed exterior will blend with the mass scale and architecture of the home, and the benefits of deviation outweigh any detriment. The negative criteria, there's no detriment to the neighborhood character. Many of the surrounding houses have undergone similar improvements. No adverse effect on adjoining properties or the city as a whole. No damage that would cause substantial detriment to the public good. The zoning plan and ordinances will not be substantially impaired. The pool and other yard improvements will not cause any undesirable noise, light, glare, odors, or other burdens, and will not negatively impact the surrounding property owners. I'd like to now turn it over to our experts. Unless
Okay,
there's
any questions for the attorney? Any questions from the public for the attorney? Seeing none, please call your first witness.
Yep, the applicant would like to call Kathy Mueller, a professional engineer and owner of Page Mueller Engineering Consultants.
If you could raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
Catherine with a C, and Mueller, M-U-E-L-L-E-R. I spell it wrong.
Thank
I'm
you.
a professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. My license is in good standing. I'm the owner and president of Page Mueller Engineering located in Warren Township, New Jersey. Testified in front of numerous boards in the area, including this one, as a professional engineer.
Any questions, or would you like to accept your credentials?
Ladies and gentlemen, okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So the plans that I have on the board are what were submitted as part of the application. They're dated November 4th, 2021, with no revisions. I'll start on the cover sheet. This will explain elevations of the property. It's located at the intersection of, it's got the frontage with the front of the house facing Hillcrest Avenue to the south. They have one driveway access with on-grade parking on Bellevue Avenue off the side of the house. And into the rear of the house is Crest Acre Court, where they have a existing driveway. And one thing I want to clarify, the driveway comes into a garage. The garage is actually under a formal garden area, so that will all remain. There's one side yard, which is to the west, and it's a complying setback. All the principal building setbacks are compliant on the property. There's a high point along Bellevue Avenue, and it grades down to the west. There's a portion of steep slopes, which I can have shaded on the second page that I can discuss next. So turning to sheet 2, all of the existing improvements are going to remain. So what we're proposing is to put a 16 by 40 pool on the northern side of the property. It's to the rear of the house, while maintaining the formal gardens that were already established. They're walled in with the historic nature of the property. We do have some steep slopes, some on the left side of the house, and some along the existing walkway. This enables somebody from the house to walk down and go under and into that hidden garage, which is under the gardens. The side yard setback existing is 21.5. The required setback for a pool is 15, so leaving a compliant non-front yard area of 6 feet wide, right against the house. So that's not an option. So the front of the house is going to remain as is, and the proposed pool is in the northeast corner of the property. In Summit, all of the setbacks are measured to the patio, not the pool itself, and also to the equipment pad. So I'll talk about some of the variances that we're seeking tonight, which are all, number one, the pool will be in the front yard. We do not have another option for placement of that pool. There's 2 front yard variances associated with the equipment pad. We're 58.1 from Bellevue Avenue and 47 feet from Crest Acre Court. And our landscape architect will talk about how we're going to screen it. We're going to do it with landscaping versus a hard fence in that area. It's directly adjacent to their open parking area for service and accessibility. We now have the pool, we have 1640, and we have surrounding patio. The patio around the pool is 4 feet wide to the east, to the west, the south, and the east, and 4 feet off the spot. This allows for safe passageway around the pool, 2 people to clean it, to access it, and a slightly larger, it's 11 foot, I think 2 inches for some lounge chair area. The patio that I just discussed is where we get the front yard setback from Crest Acre Court at 18 feet. That's the corner to the patio. The corner to the water surface is 31 feet. So the required setback variance there is 18, even though the physical pool is slightly further. We're not proposing any disturbance to the steep slopes in the rear. We have a collection trench along the edge of the patio. It'll be a stone trench with perforated pipe. That'll collect the increase in impervious and bring it to a dry well that's been sized for 3 inches of rain over the entire increase. The increase for the project is 1,773 square feet. That includes the pool surface. The pool surface is 697 square feet of that area. Pools are natural detention, but if at some point a solid cover is installed, the stormwater has been designed for runoff from the pool area as well. That's pretty much the gist of the application. Just one other minor thing, the overflow from the dry well we have directed down towards Crest Acre Court. That's where this area does need drain naturally. So we're not taking water from one area and redirecting it to another. We'll have conduit outlet protection to slow it down, and it'll continue down Crest Acre Court. So that's a quick and simple presentation of the engineering for the project. Be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Mr. Dower?
I believe that the applicant's answered all the questions I had. One exception, and that would be any review from Mr. Linson regarding the vegetation along the corner of Crest Acre, as far as obstructing any views.
We do have a landscape architect that'll present the planting plan, and he may be able to answer that
Yeah, we
question.
don't have his comments, correct?
Yeah, we have John's. John Linson?
Yeah.
Proposed improvement is well screened, no objection.
Okay. So he didn't have any concerns as far as, I don't have that.
All I have is his.
Okay. Yeah, that would be my only concern, would be that there's additional landscaping that's proposed close to the street, and I would just want to make sure that we're not obstructing any views, because it is kind of tight in that area, and it's pretty heavily landscaped right now up to the intersection.
I can adjust that after I'm sworn.
Okay. That was the only comments I had.
Yeah, and I have some of the same concerns, so maybe after the landscape architect comments, if we maybe have some kind of condition, just that somebody reviews to confirm that the visibility is not an issue. I don't know if that would be John Linson or Krista, I'm not sure who that would be, but.
Deputy City Engineer, Chris?
It could be the city engineer.
Any other questions? Who's going to handle the pool fence and gates issues? Is that you or is that the landscape architect?
We do indicate a pool compliant fence just around the perimeter of the new patio. We'll have out swinging self-latching gates where the
Okay, I thought you said there was
existing
no fence. All right, now.
walkway. No, it's indicated on the plan, we call it out. We have a lot of lines going around the pool, but it's the intention and what's shown on the plan is it'll be at the perimeter of the new patio.
And that's compliant.
Yes.
Okay.
I think what she had said earlier was that there was no fence around the mechanics,
For the screening
Screening.
of the equipment pad.
Right.
Okay.
I think Krista had made a note, but we'll present some plantings in the next step.
I had a question, and I'm not really sure who the proper person is, but could we confirm or make a condition? A lot of my concern is traffic on Crest Acre Court. There's already construction going on, which we gave a variance last year that's still going on. And the driveway off of Bellevue is the logical place for any construction equipment to enter the property. Could we somehow condition that, that they didn't have construction vehicles going down Crest Acre to build this?
Didn't we condition in a prior application that they consult with the police department to make sure that traffic is not, that they coordinate traffic between them?
Yeah, it's here, we've got a driveway off of Bellevue that's the logical place for
I
the,
think we did that before, right?
We've had similar conditions before where they consult, a proposed construction plan be submitted in advance just to try to minimize any traffic or other adverse impacts. Would that be acceptable?
That's acceptable.
Can you please just show me once more, point to what the required setback line is along Crest Acre Court?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Let me just note the access on Bellevue. The required principal front yard setback is 35 feet. For the
Got it.
pool, it's 70. So that comes through the formal garden here and through the back of the patio. And I mean, it intersects with the 70 feet off of Bellevue right here.
Got it.
Any other questions, board members? Okay. So, any questions from the public for this witness? Seeing none, you want to call your next witness?
Thank you. The applicant would like to call Robert DiStefano, a landscape architect from Greencraft Associates.
And if you could raise raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
Robert DiStefano, D-E-S-T-E-F-A-N-O. I'm a New Jersey licensed landscape architect. I've been working at my business Dreamcraft for 16 and a half years now. I live in 140 Fairview Avenue in High Bridge, New Jersey. I've done many plans in Summit. I've been available for the board to question me, but I haven't really been up here in a while. Here I am.
Any questions, or would you like to accept his credentials?
Any questions from anyone? Okay, we accept your credentials and turn you over to your attorney.
So, I'd like to first address your question about the corner intersection over here of Bellevue Avenue and Crest Acre Court. Right here, just to point out on the plan, anything that has a dark outline around it is existing plants that already have significant screening or significant vegetative value on the property. What I did was add significantly more screening to actually create kind of a garden down all of Crest Acre Court for passerbys and for Resika-ready. And along Bellevue Avenue, I did add some additional plantings among the existing shrubbery that's there. The plants that are there, especially in this area where the corner is, where the comment was that there is significant vegetation, those plants, I added some evergreen shrubs underneath their canopies, so actually within the boundary of the existing plants. And the plants that I'm putting there are going to grow quite tight, so they're not actually causing any additional screening or of any vehicles in that area. Otherwise, I would have put them out here in that area. So I don't see any way that they are going to impact any vehicular traffic or cause any issues in that regard. So if you want to get a closer look.
Well, how high will that vegetation be?
Well, right now, the existing canoe and cherry dogwoods and the viburnums over there, they're already significant. They're already pretty significant. What I tried to do was tuck these plants farther back from them. So in order to actually screen from, say, about 4 to 5 feet high, looking into the property, I was trying to screen off the property from the road and from passerbys, but I don't see how they could impact vehicles. The density of the existing vegetation that's there is already doing that.
So the idea is to bring up the new vegetation to meet the bottom of the canopy? There's no daylight in between the old and the new? Is that correct?
It's basically to screen off the street, it's to screen off the pool area. That's the idea. So. I can walk you through the whole thing.
Is this the same document that we have?
That is.
Okay. Just because you said you added, I wasn't sure if you added after this.
All I tried to do was, no, I didn't add anything else or change anything else. All I did was, in this area, you can see, you can't really do too much underneath these existing canoe and cherry dogwoods because they have such a dense, deciduous branching as it is. You're not going to try to cram stuff underneath there. So I did it along the periphery of it while still keeping it under their canopy, where I got some gaps in there for it to work.
I'm sorry, can you clarify where the like dense forage-y stuff is going in? Because it looks like there's a road right here and then a road right there, and like I get that you're screening off the pool, but it also seems like you're screening out, I don't know, visibility for, I don't know, people this high. So a bunch of children are not going to be able to see around that corner if they're running in between bushes, if there's no fenced-in area or
Well, they can
anything
do
like
that. They can effectively do that right now if they really wanted to.
Right, so we're doing more to that, so we're making it so that kids can just not see around corners and see cars coming at them. I get that we're screening off a pool, but that pool doesn't exist. So right now, right, there's more visibility at that corner. 2 corners, right? Hillcrest, Crestview, and Bellevue.
Bellevue and Crest Acre Court.
Right.
Is the one.
So we're making that more dense with
Underneath the canopy of the existing vegetation.
for screening for the pool.
I certainly hope the children are not running through there, otherwise they're going to be poking their eyes out.
Fair.
Even the existing plants that are there.
But they could,
Because it's
but they could
pretty
see
dense.
more lights going through from cars coming up either street, right?
No.
Okay.
I mean, in the wintertime, I guess they could, but right now, it's quite dense
Fair.
because of the deciduous foliage that's on it, so it's all out.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at it, actually, if you go down there and you see it's pretty dense. What I was doing was adding more according to what the forester wanted, so I can screen off the pool. So, and that's why I try to keep everything under the existing canopies that are outlined in the dark edges here.
Gotcha.
Over here, I didn't have that, so I had to add some taller trees, evergreens, and create essentially screen garden without creating a hedge. So I don't think Mr. Lindsay likes hedges that much, so, in my experience. The pool equipment, looking from Bellevue Avenue through the driveway, the pool equipment, I put a series of skip laurels around it with some hollies, and then broke up the edges with some ornamental grasses. That way, so again, it just doesn't look like a big hedge, but skip laurel is going to get about 8 to 10 feet tall. They're going to be evergreen, quite dense, large leaves. The grasses, again, will break everything up. They won't be there in the winter, but you're going to have all the evergreen plants around it. So even when you're going by or walking by or driving by on Bellevue Avenue and you glance up the driveway, you shouldn't be able to see any of that. As you move farther down Bellevue, all of this is much denser planting of existing plants. That's why I didn't even show it on the plan, because you can't even see through there. Any questions?
You indicated that you, again, the only comments we have from the forester is it's proof. You would seem to indicate that you'd had a conversation with Mr. Linson?
I've actually worked on a similar project like this on Coke Road and Pembroke Road, which I'm still active with the client there, even though we just bought a house in Florida. And I had to meet Mr. Lindsay on the property because we had to screen across all along Pembroke Road. And his comment to me at that time was, I won't accept the hedge because that will be construed as a fence, and you can't have more than a 4-foot-high fence there. So I had to design the whole thing with evergreens and viburnums and skip laurels and this whole mass of camaciferous, everything, hydrangeas, so that it was this dense vegetated planting that had eclectic different varieties of plants and
But you did not discuss this particular
No, I did
project
not.
with him?
I did
Okay,
not.
I just seemed to
this
think,
is going by my experience.
okay, seemed to sound like you had.
I remember the conversation. It was a good conversation.
And it probably affects questions from the public for this witness. Seeing none. Any other witnesses?
So I do have 3 additional witnesses. In the interest of time, I wasn't going to have them testify unless anyone has any specific questions. It is the homeowner, also the pool designer, and a planning consultant. Does anyone
Do
have any?
any of the our board members, Mr. Dower, anything that you would want to hear from any of those witnesses?
I have a question. I'm not sure who best to ask my question. I don't know if it's the homeowner or if maybe I can ask you.
Sure.
And you can let me know. I'm curious, I don't think there are any members of the interested public here for this. Is that true? Are there none? I'm just curious if the homeowner has had any outreach from neighbors when notice was given of this project, and if any neighbors had any notable thoughts about the project.
Yep.
I'm just conceding or realizing that it is summertime and people may not be able to attend this meeting as a neighbor. So I'm just curious, honor code, and what type of feedback or outreach you've gotten from neighbors.
She would be happy to discuss if you'd like.
Then you'll have to come forward and be sworn.
And if you could raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
Rasika Reddy, R-A-S-I-K-A, and last name is Reddy, R-E-D-D-Y.
Thank you.
So, last time we were on the schedule, that was on May 2nd night. We had our neighbor come in and he wanted to know, the only question he had was if we were building a pool house.
And we said no. And another lady who lives down on Crestaker, she wanted to know if we were removing trees, and we said, actually, no, we are increasing the trees. And the rest, they're all looking forward to us having, I'm quite friendly with my neighbors, so they're all looking forward to having us, the pool.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the homeowner? Okay, any other questions? Any other questions from the public? Anybody want to tell us what they think of this application? Okay, anything you'd like to say in summation?
Nope, that's it. The applicant submits to the board. Thank you.
All right.
Conditions.
I have 3 conditions. First is compliance with those conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum. Second is that the city engineer will review the proposed screening to ensure it does not result in site obstruction for any traffic. And third, if I didn't just lose my place on the screen, is that the proposed construction plan will be submitted to the police department to minimize traffic impacts associated with construction.
Any last second?
I just had one question. I know in the past, I don't know how quick the board is turning around the resolutions for the project.
1 month.
Okay, because we have been delayed, we'd like to possibly submit and get the review started prior to the adoption of the resolution, if that was acceptable to the board. If we're talking weeks.
The
If it's
updated,
1 month, that's acceptable.
updated plans, you're saying?
We'll have to
submitting?
do compliance plans, we'll do the lot grading plan, we'll have some soil erosion measures, et cetera, in the compliance plans. That'll be submitted.
I suppose if the engineers and city
Well,
departments
she
are
did
willing to
indicate that
accept
1
it.
month is acceptable, so.
Right, we'll just have them ready.
We're
when
not- we
if
don't
it's
have an-
1
we-
month, then that's perfectly acceptable, thank you.
We do have a special meeting coming up later on in this month. If perchance the transcripts come back before that, and our attorney gets a chance to do that, there is the, there's a July 18th meeting, and then there's our August meeting. So between those two, I'm sure you'll do the best you can to accommodate, but again, we're at the mercy of the folks who are at the other end of the transcripts. Yes, sir.
I have one more question. Is there anything at the site of the construction of the pool that exists right now? There is. There's a playset, right?
We have a playset.
Okay. Do you know where you intend to move the playset?
There was a large.
You have to come forward and use the microphone, I'm sorry. You can use the podium.
Shall I show it on the?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So it's right now, no, wait, hold on. Oh, no, it's gonna go here. Right?
Right now, it's over here.
Right now it's here.
There's the driveway.
So
There's the
driveway.
walkway.
So it's gonna be here.
That's where it's moving?
And that's compliant?
I believe so. It's not, it doesn't come into past the front of the house. It'll be right here. There was a large tree that had to come down. It was diseased and we got a permit for that. Anyway, that's where it's going to be.
Yeah, I would just have your team confirm that it's within compliance.
Yeah,
with the
and
zoning
would,
ordinance.
and would the new location need to be approved by the city in some way?
If it's not subject to a variance, then it would be okay.
Okay.
So as long as it's being moved to a conforming location, that should be fine.
Okay.
Should we put that in as a condition that it must be moved to conform?
I mean, they have to move it into
Okay.
a conforming location, so, unless they're asking for a variance tonight.
Well, that's what I was asking.
What?
Side of this. So this is the 35
All right, we'll give you a minute here to straighten this out.
Yeah, it'll be compliant with the 35-foot front yard setback. So I don't know if there's any other.
Are there any other setbacks that it would
City
be?
of Summit. So,
As you have 3 of them,
yeah. So from Bellevue Terrace, we have the driveway coming in and the walkway. And we're gonna put it, as you come up that walkway, to the right, towards the pool. Or to the left?
No,
To the left.
To the left, in this walled area, this flat
Yes.
area,
Yeah.
it's gonna be here. So here's the 35-foot front yard setback. It'll be beyond that, behind that.
that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay. All right, now we will go back to executive session. Or do we have anything else
Thank
to
you for
add
that.
here?
Yeah, accessory structures prohibited between any part of the front building facade and the street right-of-way, but on corner lots, they may be placed in a side yard, provided the 4 or 15-foot setback requirement is met.
But we don't have a side yard here.
We have one side yard, right? And it's being proposed in a front yard now?
Correct.
Okay, so glad we caught that, because if that's the proposed location and if the board's willing to entertain it, we would need to grant a variance for the location in a front yard.
So what is the limit? What is the limit in the front yard? Just for anywhere in the front yard?
Anywhere.
Anywhere in the front yard.
Yep.
That's actually what I thought.
So is everyone on board, is,
Yes.
with granting
Everybody
that
okay
variance?
with that? That
And-
acceptable to the applicant?
We'll just need the, kind of the details to be submitted on distance, to be phrased, to give some idea in the resolution on where it's located. I know we've pointed it out on the plans here tonight, but we'll just need to update that to finalize it.
So we're adding another variance to the list. Okay, who wants to open our discussion?
Well, I'm happy to.
Doctor?
So 3 front yards and a side yard, 70-foot setback. Looking at the, drawing, unless you're gonna put the pool either in your living room or, in the beautiful gardens in the backyard, what we're deciding here is whether or not you can have a pool, because there's no way to make it conforming without sacrificing the what I'm sure are just absolutely gorgeous gardens, or putting it extremely close to your home. So the one thing that concerned me is Crestacre Court is such a quaint, charming, quiet, like jewel of a street. I was just concerned about having a pool right there. How would the neighbors feel? Would this be a plus? Would this be something they were concerned about? And hearing your report of the feedback from your neighbors, I mean, that was my biggest concern. The rest is just, rules and how we define setbacks based on the fact that you're surrounded by 3 streets. So really for those reasons, it's continuing to be a conforming, everything else is conforming, lot coverage, no changes to building coverage, things like that. It's just really location of the pool. So really for those reasons, I'm in support of this application.
Yeah, I can support it as well, too. I mean, it's definitely an unusual situation with the 3 front yards and side yard. It's kind of like a peninsula-type property. I really admire the screening plan. I think the applicant has done an excellent job of screening it. That area of Crestacre, that's, there is a lot of side yard, front yard activity across from them. There's another pool kind of in that area, and there's a barbecue in kind of the side front yard across Crestacre. So I think there's a lot of unusual things in that neighborhood. It's a very quiet street. So I'm in favor of, they've done a great job with stormwater management and everything they need to do. So I can support it as well.
Anyone else?
I too can support it, and when it comes to moving the play set, I think that you've found a thoughtful place. It is on the far side of the driveway from the pool, so there isn't that much temptation. From kids trying to swing into the pool or something like that. And you found a quiet, flat, semi-walled position for it. As to the the screening rather than a fence around the pool equipment. I think your landscape architect did a good job of explaining how it serves, and actually does a better job than some of those shiny white fake fences, that it will be screened year-round and done attractively, so I too can support this application.
Anyone from this side wish to chime in? Okay. I certainly can support this one. I think the drainage is a positive. There appear to be no negatives to the neighborhood or the zone plan. So I would entertain a motion to approve this application.
I'll move to approve with the conditions we previously stated.
Second.
Mr. Nicola?
Sure. Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Mr. Mullen?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Loikitz?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
Dr. Levine?
Yes.
And Vice Chairman Steiner.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you'll coordinate with the attorney to move the resolution along
Yep.
as expeditiously as possible. And we go, anybody need a break, or can we,
No, I'm recusing.
okay, we're going to take 5.
No, I'm recusing, I said, but you can take
Oh,
5.
okay. Do we want to take 5, or do we want to keep going?
Power through.
What?
Just power through.
Charge? Charge. Okay, then Libby, we'll go ahead to 9 Nassau Drive. Jason Pucci. Ladies and gentlemen, can we take your conversation outside, please, so we can continue?
Kathy's with me, too.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Kathy. Kathy, do you need a minute?
Nope.
Okay. Sorry.
No problem. Good evening, everyone.
If you're ready, you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
Jason Pucci, P-U-C-C-I.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm here to apply for a variance to widen the top portion of the existing single-lane driveway to allow for 2 cars to be parked side by side. Doing so would increase the maximum lot coverage from 35% to 37.7%. For background, my husband and I purchased the home in 2005. Since then, we've completed many permitted improvements. And for background, in 2019, we applied for and were granted a variance to add a second garage, widen the driveway, and expand the primary bedroom behind the expanded garage. We did not proceed with that work. The costs came in dramatically higher than we had projected. Instead, we completed other permitted improvements to our backyard, the renovation of an existing swimming pool, the renovation of an existing patio, and the addition of a small deck off of the primary bedroom. Because of this, the driveway expansion would result in the lot coverage increase that I mentioned. My one witness is Kathy Muller of Page Muller Engineering, whom you all know.
Any questions for the property owner? Any questions from a member of the public? Okay, then you have a witness, so
I'm going to
swear
turn.
you in again.
Still Catherine Muller, still a professional engineer in the state of New Jersey.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And if you could just again spell your last name for the record.
M-U-E-L-L-E-R.
Thank you. And I'll just note for the record, you were previously sworn in the prior application. Your credentials as an expert engineer were accepted at that time, and the board will do so again.
Thank you. So, Sid Miller, I have the front page of the plans that were submitted dated March 14th, 2022 with no revisions. The front page shows the existing conditions. Lot 20, block 1802, is located in the R10 zone. It's located on a bend of Nassau Drive down to the north is down on this sheet. It's an existing single-family home, a single width driveway to a single car garage. As you've heard, our firm also did some improvements in the lot grading plans, which were submitted to zoning and were compliant for lot coverage, building coverage, etc. And those are still under construction or
Completed.
substantially complete?
Completed.
completed. So we've taken the improvements from our design plans and have incorporated into this application as existing conditions. The professional reviewers had asked for an updated survey, whether it be a topo survey or an as-built survey. Topo survey wouldn't benefit the design as we didn't affect anything in front of the house with those prior applications. So if an as-built is required at the end, we can provide it after all the improvements are done. So that would be our preference. The property slopes from the front to the rear. It's gradually sloping. The front yard does go out to Nassau Drive and it's moderately sloped. So as you heard, the application is for the widening of the portion of the driveway closest to the garage. We'll maintain the existing curb cut. We're proposing to improve it with cobblestones for aesthetic benefits to the front of the house, come off the street, and provide enough room on the right side for a car to be parked in the driveway and still leave the garage usable. It'll be an ultimate width of 18 feet and a 30-foot length from the street to the driveway. That'll allow a car enough room to swing and 20 feet to park and then swing back out without hitting the curb. It is proposed to be curbed. So what we've done for stormwater management, the existing driveway pitches to the left, comes down the curb and goes to Nassau Drive. We've put a ridge there so that the new impervious coverage that we're going to be installing will go in the opposite direction. I have a drop curb and an inlet. So the water that's coming off the new pavement will go into that inlet. That inlet now will have pipes going in two directions. I have one pipe back pitched up inside the property line. That'll be encased in stone. So it's a modified dry well system. Whatever water runs out will back pitch through that perforated pipe and fill that stone for 3 inches of rain over the impervious coverage. When that dry well system gets full, I have an upper pipe which will flow out of that inlet and connect into Nassau Drive. This is the direction that the driveway flows now. The project results in an increase of 339 square feet of impervious, and that's what we've designed the collection system for. It's 315 square feet over what's allowed. The property currently has two pre-existing non-conforming conditions. One for lot width, where 75 is required and 69.41 is existing. That's due to the curve and the pie-shaped nature of the property. So that's an existing condition we will not be changing. And the second one is the minimum side yard, minimum one side yard at 7.41 feet, where 12 is required. Again, that's a pre-existing non-conforming condition for the principal dwelling in the front left corner, and we're not changing that either. We're not proposing any tree removal. It's a lawn area now. There was one question by your board engineer about the guy wire for the pole. That was a surveyed location. This structure is modest. It's 4 feet deep. So we do not see an impact to that guy wire with the improvements that we're doing. We're also proposing a bollard. There is an existing generator at the end of it, so there's going to be protection there. And just lastly, since we're widening it to the right side yard, it's a 2-foot driveway setback, and we'll be compliant with that. And if the board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Mr. Dower?
The only comment I have is that Krista noted about the requirement for a topographic map as part of the grading permit application. So I know you mentioned you didn't prefer not to do that, but I would defer to the city if that's going to be needed. If Krista said that you're going to need it, I would just double check that. That may be required. So it's nothing the board the board really can't make a decision on that. That would be something that would be required by the city if they wanted.
Sure, I can discuss it with them.
Okay.
It was done in 2019, and again, we did the improvements to the rear. So
Right.
all the spot shots that we have in our system are reflected in this design. But I'm happy to discuss that.
I mean, ideally, they would probably want something, an as-built topographic survey, but again, defer to them. It's nothing the board can condition at this point.
I'll just note the one item, and I think you've already proposed this, the one item that Krista does reflect that we can condition is that the survey, as-built survey would be submitted just prior to the issuance of the certificate of approval for the new driveway. Any issues with complying with that?
Well, again, we did a survey in 2019, was all the existing conditions. We did the design to the rear of the property, which was improvements around the pool, a new deck, some patio work. If we did an as-built topographic before the grading plan or the zoning permit was issued for the driveway, it would show the same conditions in this area as my 2019 plan. So it would give me the same information for a base map for the design because nothing forward of the house was changed.
But she's asking for a certificate, before the certificate of approval. So wouldn't the driveway be in by then?
So I don't know, is it the approval of the?
Certificate of
Of the
approval
driveway.
for the new driveway.
So after it's done?
After, and as-built is afterwards.
Yeah.
Does your current plan that was submitted reflect the proposal for the widened driveway, or no?
The 2019 doesn't have that in it.
No,
Okay,
that was
so
just
that-
the existing condition survey that was
Right.
submitted as part of our application.
And she's suggesting that an as-built survey would be required before the certificate of approval is issued for the new driveway.
So I guess I'm unclear about the timing of the certificate of approval for the driveway. Is that before they start construction or after?
No, it's
After, approval.
After,
approval.
okay, so that's my confusion, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
That you done did it good.
Then I agree.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Questions? Any other, Mr. Dower?
No further questions.
Questions of the board? I have one, and you brought it up, so I saw a generator. I saw an air conditioner. I did not see any screening around any of them. How did it get installed without screening, and can we get screening?
Mr. Pucci will,
The permit for the generator is still open because of the screening. The plan, hopefully, is to widen the driveway and then screen the generator. If we screened the generator now, it would be disrupted by the improvement to the driveway.
So your prior application includes the screening?
For the generator.
And how about for the air conditioning?
The air conditioner was moved around the time the generator was installed, and I don't think screening was an issue then. It's behind the generator, but we
Yes,
can
I-
certainly add screening.
It's required to be screened, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
So I think we should correct something that perhaps we missed someplace along the line in the approval process.
I think it's required. But regardless, you're willing to add the screening
Yes.
to the
Yes.
generator once this
Yes.
construction is complete? Okay.
And that is the plan regardless of
Got it.
this discussion.
Okay.
We just didn't, it would all be potentially damaged by the construction work.
As long as it's done by the certificate of approval.
Yes. Yes.
Now that we know what that is. Any other questions? Anything else? Any members of the public have questions? Yes, sir. Please come forward.
Thank you. My name is Chetan Jadhav, Jadhav. Address is 11 Nassau Drive. Apologies, I don't have the plan in front of me, so the basic question is like, if this widening is to the east or to the west of the existing driveway? And the second question is whether where the water is going to get drained?
Where's the water going to what?
Going to get drained, which side? And like how the drainage system would work. Sorry, I don't have a plan in front of me.
Okay, but she can show you there.
So as, if you're standing in the road looking at the house, it's to the right of the existing driveway or the west side of the property. It will be curved, and the water will be directed into a collection system that's been sized for 3 inches of rain over the increase of the impervious. And in the event that that overflows, it'll be put into the existing inlet, which is right out along the frontage of Nassau Drive.
So the west side, which is 5 Nassau Drive, right? West side is the 5
Lot
Nassau.
19.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions in the public? Oh, that was...
He's my
Okay.
neighbor.
There's now, for the record, there's no public left. I did have one other question that I forgot to bring up. So I was looking at the driveway. I noticed that there's a long wood slat in the driveway now.
Yes.
What's it there for, and is it going to stay there? Is it going to move over to the right? Is it a guide to get into the garage? I mean,
The new deck that was built in the rear of the house, it's like a Trex type material. That piece is very heavy. It's not easily moved. My contractor is supposed to cut it in thirds so that I can store it. That hasn't happened yet. But as my husband can attest, we follow up with him about every 3 days about it.
Okay, I just thought it was there
Yes.
for a purpose.
No, it's there because it actually doesn't fit in the garage. It's too long, so it needs to be cut
Okay.
by someone other than me.
Any other questions? Okay, anything else that you would like to present?
No, thank you.
No other comments from the public because you're part of the application? Then we have conditions?
Yes, 3 conditions. First is compliance with those conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum. Second is that the applicant will submit an as-built survey prior to the issuance of the certificate of approval for the new driveway. And third is that the applicant will screen the existing air conditioning unit and generator after construction of the driveway.
Okay, who would like to open?
I think,
Go ahead.
I think this is a good application. The engineer did the right thing by providing this solution. I do support this application. I see it has no impact on the neighborhood or the environment. Therefore, I support it.
Thank you.
I can also support this application. The modest request of 2%, I think, goes a long way towards improving maneuverability and therefore safety in terms of using the driveway. And also, I don't think we should penalize them for having a trapezoidal, yard. So with that, I can support this application.
Anyone else? If not, I concur with everything everyone has said and can support this and would look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
All right, a lot was going on there, so
Mr. Malay,
we had 2 motions at the same time.
Mr. Malay, and Dr.
All right, Eel.
I'll take it.
All right, Mr. Yuko,
Yes.
Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Mr. Loikitz,
Yes.
Ms. Toth. Ms. Toth is recused, I'm
Yes.
sorry. All right, Dr. Levine,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Steiner.
Yes.
All right.
Does someone want to find, thank you. Does
luck.
someone want to find Ms. Toth? Or did she go home?
She went home.
We don't need her.
She went home. Oh, we
She
don't,
moved
yes,
to
we
adjourn.
always need. Okay, it's time for the Chris Nicola Show.
Yes. Okay, 4 resolutions tonight. First is 127 Tulip Street, application ZB 21-2094. Our eligible voting members are Mr. Yuko and Mr. Mullen and Ms. Toth, who is not here. So we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
I guess I'll second.
All right, Mr. Yuko
Yes.
and Mr. Mullen.
Yes.
He's thinking about it.
All right, next is 32 West End Avenue, application ZB-22-2125. Eligible voting members are Vice Chairman Steiner, Mr. Yuko, Mr. Mullen, and Mr. Malay. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Vice Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Mr. Mullen?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
All right, next is 42 Fairview Ave, application ZB-22-2126. And we have the same exact eligible voting members, so who would like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Vice Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Mr. Mullen?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
All right, and our last one is 11 Portland Road, application ZB-22-2127, and same eligible voting members. Need a motion for that?
So moved. Yep.
Second.
All right, Vice Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Mr. Mullen?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
All right, we have 2 sets of minutes. I must confess there was a typo in the May 16th minutes with the bottom, there was supposed to be deleted motion. So I've made that edit, but we need to approve these as amended. So would somebody like to move those as amended?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. And for June 6th, we need to need to approve those minutes as well. Does somebody want to make a motion?
Move. So move.
And a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none.
Okay, we have a meeting on Monday, July 18th, which is a special meeting to guess.
That's not the special meeting.
No, the special is the 27th.
I'm sorry?
27th.
27th. So we have our regular meeting on
Yes.
July 18th. And also, we all received an email with some suggested changes to the applications, correct? Did that go to everybody? The application process, did you send that to everybody?
No, that was,
Okay, then I
the
didn't say that. There is a new application process being looked at, and some of us were given.
we can
an
discuss
opportunity.
after.
What?
I'm happy to share it after, but it's, it went to the planner, Andy, and a few other people. So
Steve and me, okay. Okay, we will share it with you, and hopefully it's supposed to make the process easier for us. No other business?
No,
We
sir.
stand adjourned. Thank you all.